Hey everybody, welcome back to some more early morning barking, talking about BPD and MPD by somebody that has both. Do all the socially things scrolling past you on the screen right now, because I'd really like to start talking to you all about a live stream and doing a weekly live stream on my blog channel. There's a link to that in the description below. You should go and subscribe to that for when something happens. There are a couple of videos on it. I'm not going to pretend you're missing anything, but when I do a live stream, that's where I'm going to do it. So do that. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook so we can actually have a discussion, or better yet, patreon.com. There's a link to that in the description below. Oh, and while you're here, can you hit the like and subscribe buttons as well, please? That'd be awesome. So today I want to talk about a realization that I came to, and it was quite an important one. And while it's going to be quite vague in the end, I think it's an important thing to discuss. And as I've recently been taking stock of my life and decisions that I've made and things I've done and where things led me, it's become apparent how much of my life has become controlled and influenced by these two personality disorders, primarily in my case, BPD. I have both. There doesn't feel like there's an even mix of the two when it comes to who's in charge. The BPD is very much in charge and kind of always has been. And it goes back a very long way throughout my life. But I've been concentrating on my previous long-term relationship and where that went wrong and that sort of thing. And the way that my BPD affected that and how I wasn't able to effectively communicate that at the time or do anything about it, and the problems that led to. You see, there are lots of instances where I didn't... When I talk about my behavior in the relationship, that's a very wide-ranging subject. And primarily your mind goes to things like long arguments, paranoia, or all the things that we generally hear about with BPD. And in many cases, a lot of those things were there. But that's not only what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about what it's like just being a person with BPD. The stress and the anxiety that brings with it and transfers over to another person. And your ability to function as a person affects their ability to function as a person. And so when I was hanging on to doing work that wasn't really making any money or doing me any good or getting anywhere, it was all driven by BPD. Well, in that case, some narcissism as well. I didn't want to admit that things weren't going well. But there was a fear there. There are so many things that are fear-driven. A fear of change, a fear of what will I do next, a fear of if I admit this is wrong, then I have to do something about it. But also a fear of doing those things, those like doing a new thing, like what? I'm afraid of that. I'm afraid to stay where I am. I'm afraid to jump. I'm afraid to do anything. And so you stay paralyzed, and that starts to affect relationships. And then beyond that, things that I did, the way that I allowed myself to drift with obsessions, which we will come back to. There's an episode about various different things we need to have a serious talk about. Again, fear-driven for me. And eventually right up to leaving the relationship, where it's that fear of abandonment, that I'm going to leave somebody before they leave me. I'm going to abandon them before they abandon me, because the way I'm behaving, I know that abandonment is coming. There's been an interesting discussion about the stability of relationships on my Patreon page, which has made some interesting points, that no stable relationship just stays stable. And the simile that was used on the website was, it's like a house. They are sturdy and stable and they stay there. with maintenance. If you just leave it there, it will eventually just crumble and fall to the ground, no matter how strong the foundation is. And that's very true. And my fear kept me from doing anything about this crumbling to the ground. And all it let me do was run out of the building first, because I was afraid of the building crumbling to the ground. And then my fear perpetuated what I did afterwards. Loneliness, fear of being alone, fear of being left, fear of being abandoned, fear of being without, fear of being unloved, feeling unlovable. And the things I got into, very fear-driven. Because I felt that I'd been missing out on stuff. We'll come back to this. This is a separate episode. I think this is going to be a 3-parter. And so I was afraid of stuff. I was afraid of missing out in my life. I was afraid of not doing things that I wanted to do. And I didn't know that I didn't want to do them. I was just afraid. So many of my decisions are based on being afraid. You know, my decisions to not go out and work, to not make friends, to not participate in the world, and to stay in a relationship that was like a safe cocoon. I didn't need anybody else. I had my partner and my favorite person because I was afraid of everything else. And to some extent still am, right? I'm not claiming to be over this. I'm only just realizing that it's a thing. But I'm taking steps, albeit very slowly, because these things just take time even when you're enthusiastic about them. But I want to be part of the world. I want to get over this fear. I just didn't really realize it was there. I didn't really realize it was holding me back. And then when there aren't things to be afraid of, I make shit up. I imagine that people are going through things that they aren't. And I try and take their feelings into account when they don't need me to, or want me to, or care what I'm doing. And that in turn, the fear of hurting somebody that I'm not going to hurt, holds me back. And it's a fear I've made up. You know, it's a fear that I've conjured up out of nothing. And I think maybe transferred onto somebody else, projected onto somebody else from me. I've assumed that they have the same fears as me, and they don't really. But because I'm trying to take those fears into account, I get afraid. I don't do stuff that I want to do. I don't live my life like I want to live it, really. Because I'm afraid. And that just hurts me further. That just perpetuates things. That just stops me from moving on. That just stops me from living a life. All of it, fear. I am so afraid. And I realize that this anxiety that I've been feeling for a couple of weeks now, that's what this is. It's fear. I'm afraid of what's going to happen because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid of my future. I'm afraid of losing people. I'm afraid of who that future might involve. I'm afraid of so many things. And if I'm not careful, if I don't keep an eye on this, if I don't fight to overcome it, then I could end up just here talking to you lot, moaning forever in my blanket of sadness, building a little fort of sadness with a little sadness flag on it. Because that's easier. It hurts so much, but it's not scary. It's familiar. So it's easier. And I can't live my life like that. That's how you slip into a really bad state of being that I don't intend to ever go back to. So identify these fears, find them, and say, fuck you, fear. Get some of that fuck you attitude and an explicit tab on your YouTube video when you swear just at the end. They don't have explicit tabs on YouTube. That's my podcaster mind going on. Sorry. And maybe you can stop these things. Maybe you can fight them. Maybe you can psych yourself up to taking that risk. Because some things aren't really a risk. Some things are just stuff you've got to need to get done. Right? Leave risks for another day. Now think about it. Don't worry about that. Let's just do what we need to do. There's a path to getting over these fears, and you can go down it one at a time. Take it easy. Anyway, it's been nice to talk to you again. You take care. I'll see you later. Bye.